What if I told you that peace in the Middle East, the Canadian wilderness, and some of the most famous paintings in history were all the result of questionable life choices? This week, we're talking about motives. Specifically, does it matter why something good happens? Or do we just care that it happens? If a narcissist brings peace, do we thank them or hide the good silver? Politicians, artists, historical figures, they're all human, messy, contradictory, often motivated by ego, legacy, money, or just the desire to look cool in the history books. And sometimes, despite all that, they change the world. So, let's dig in.
Welcome to Politics is Broken with Brittlestar and Lisa B. Canadian and global politics unspun. Are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then we'll begin.
Wow, we got a little graphic surprise that just popped up for us there. Celebrating 100 episodes.
I had a MySpace flashback there for a second.
For those of you listening at home, there is a wonderful primary school graphic on the screen currently saying celebrating 100 episodes of Pibbin. P-I-B''N. And there's my trademark backpack in the left corner. And your trademark notebook.
That's right. I like how they're dancing.
Yeah, it's nice. It's great. Well, thank you to our producer. 100 episodes. Oh, by the way, you're listening to Politics is Broken. My name's Brittlestar.
And my name is Lisa. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome, Maria. 100 episodes. God, that seems like a lot, doesn't it?
It's gone by like that.
You think we would have gotten the hint by now?
Right? Well, they keep letting us come back.
I know.
Thanks, Internet.
Thanks, Internet. Whoever's in control of the Internet, thank you. So, Lisa, how you doing?
Good, busy. Lots of rallies happening in Alberta.
Just like we'll touch on it in part of the conversation, but briefly to explain to other people who might not know what's going on in Alberta. What's going on in Alberta right now?
What's not going on in Alberta? The biggest thing right now is we have our teachers on strike because bargaining is not going well with this government. And so they have been on strike. What is this? Third week now? Yeah.
That's a long time.
It's a long time.
So teachers are on strike. Kids are off school. All that kind of stuff.
Away from school. Yeah.
That is rough on younger families.
Yeah. I think it's rough on everybody, right? I mean,
Sure.
Every school age group has its own issues. Certainly for parents of younger children having to find potential childcare, but that's okay because the government's giving you money to buy your love. And hoping you'll forget all about all the crap things they're doing. But then, you have kids like in junior high, like if you're in that, like grade 7, grade 8, going to be going into high school, like you're worried about missing things. If you're in grade 12, then you're worried about, am I going to graduate? So I think it's stressful for everybody, but
yeah, for sure. Well, I hope it gets resolved quickly, but again, we'll touch base on that as we discuss our conversation today. The title of the episode, of course, today is, sorry, a little bit of coffee going down the wrong way there. There we go. The title of the episode this week is Good Deeds, Bad Motives, by the way. So it was kind of like my decision to cancel last week's episode because of Thanksgiving and a drinking emergency. It was a good idea, possibly badly motivated, though.
It's hard when you have a good work ethic to have to work with somebody. I'm kidding.
Do you know someone like that?
I'm just saying.
Oh, okay.
I had some experience in my past, but
I was thinking the reason I want to talk about this week is I've been thinking about how the Israel-Palestine ceasefire and potential peace deal that Trump has told everyone that he brokered, and it got me thinking. I thought, this might put a lot of people into a bit of a weird philosophical position because moral dilemma because on one hand, I think everybody wants peace for sure. Everyone wants the all the awful things that are happening to stop. And if Trump, who is an alleged bad man, if he's the guy who does it, it kind of sucks a little of the joy out of it, doesn't it? In a weird way.
Well, I think we saw that. I think there was a lot of, having political leaders thank him and shake his hand, and where they would be in opposition a lot of the times, recognizing this contribution that he's done. Like, he's the face of a contribution. I don't know that he's the one that did it. I feel like this was always in the works.
Yeah.
But it does give you an icky feeling.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it makes me feel like and it's exactly as you were saying there, he's the face of it, and it makes you hesitant to celebrate it too much because you're like, but you don't want to give the guy a win, really. But then it made me think, like, does it matter though? Does it matter if he, because I think he's doing it. I made a post when it was announced, or rather after it was announced, and the Nobel Peace Prize was given to that woman. I can't remember her name. I don't remember her name.
Yeah,
that broad, exactly. Which I think is how they referred to them in the Nobel Peace Prize category. Oh my God. The Nobel Peace Prize goes to this broad.
It is broad. Thanks. Thanks for your help.
I wish I could remember her name, but that doesn't matter. All that to say is that when that was announced, I posted a quote post on Blue Sky saying, "Oh no, the ceasefire was for nothing," because it felt pretty obvious to me, pretty evident to me that one of the main motivators for Trump to find resolve for the Middle East conflict was to essentially win a Nobel Peace Prize and be celebrated as his hero.
Well, and I feel like, when all these talks and discussions for like quite some time now have been going on, I don't think anybody thought that was going to be like really the rationale why he seems to be doing it. But certainly in the last couple of days, like when they were gearing up to go to the summit, and he was like a child, and he's like, it's like, oh, is this why? Is this really why? Well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why, but I think he thought that this plan that wasn't his was going to get him accolades, right? And
yeah.
And again, the world that we live in, where there was potential for the Blob to get a Nobel Peace Prize. Like, I would like to get off this ride now, please.
It is pretty awful because I think there's also, as you said, like, there have been other political figures who have stepped forward and said, and if they don't step forward, they've said in closed circles that actually they were more involved with the peace process than he was. Which I think if we look at, I don't know, perhaps anything he's done over the course of his life, that tracks. However, I did have to give him a little bit of credit, and I feel sick saying this, a little bit of credit, because I think it was his ego that got a lot of it done. Now, I'm not saying it's done, because I think there's a rocky road ahead. But I think that it was largely his ego that was able to push through, as opposed to, there's lots of people who were more reserved and more calm. And I think there was one of the politicians was a UK politician who had said, or a political person who had said that they were more involved, and then they had to kind of walk that back so they didn't offend Trump's ego. And I hate that. But at the same time, I'm like, is that what it takes to get stuff done? Maybe.
Well, like, I have to question. Okay, so like in the bigger picture, in the grand scheme of things, peace good, right? We like peace good. People should be able to live alongside one another without having to worry about danger all the time.
Yeah.
But then it's like bad man trying to mediate with bad man. It's still two bad men, right? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that, like, again, the peace in the Middle East banner that they're flying right now, we got to see where it goes, because if you're doing something, I'll wait. I'll give you my theory later, but go ahead.
I can't wait. Well, let's just talk about a couple of examples, just, historically, as they relate to this idea that do motives matter? If the outcome is good, does it matter why it was initiated and why it was executed, why it was completed? So, for example, Trump and the Abraham Accords signed in September 15th, 2020, between Israel, UAE, Bahrain, and then later on by Sudan and Morocco. and that was the first normalization since 1994. It was a major diplomatic shift. Trump was motivated by Nobel Prize dreams all the way back then, 5 years ago. It focused on regional alignment, but not the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So it didn't really do much, but there's a lot of glory behind it, a potential glory behind it. And I think that's, I mean, my immediate thought is that kind of motivation causes harm in the long run. It's a bit like that was a bit like sort of like putting a leaky tarp over a roof that's got a huge hole in it and going, well, you know what? We're drier than we were.
When there's a lot of fanfare but not a lot of substance, like that's the problem, right? It looks good on paper in black and white. Look at what we're doing. We're doing all these things. We're bringing people together. But what's the substance? What's the consequence? What's the fallout? What's the goal? And if none of that is met, then did it really happen? I guess, right? Like, does it matter that it happened?
Is it just the political dance, do we think? I mean, one of the things is, historical examples I have here listing Nixon and China, which was just part of a Cold War strategy. Churchill and Stalin, which was a necessity alliance between, to defeat the Nazis. Lincoln, who did strategic emancipation. FDR's New Deal, economic experimentation. Gorbachev's reforms, patch job. It didn't really solve much, but it created more problems maybe than it was worth. That's not more than it was worth, but it created more problems, period.
This consequence, sure.
Yeah. And then, of course, in Canada, Mackenzie King is World War II political survival, like sort of just, being very careful to do the best thing with maybe not the best motivation. And, of course, Pierre Trudeau's patriation, like the legacy project of the 1982 charter. So is it just part of the dance? Is it just part of, one of the things I think we've talked about before is that people don't really understand, I think, sometimes. And I'm one of those people. It took a long time for me to understand that you can't just go into politics and be, I'm going to do the good thing. I'm going to do the right thing. Because the right thing sometimes means you have to do a couple of wrong things in order to get it. Or you have to be part of that dance where you're kind of going 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, which makes one of the more frustrating aspects of politics.
Well, I think, if we're going in with good intention, which I would hope a lot of politicians do, it's not that simple. It's not a clear path to be able to get to do what you want. There is a lot of, side roads you have to take that are sometimes sketchy. But I think, I think it's an unfortunate dance. But I think when we're looking at history, if in the moment, whatever was done, whatever deals were made, whatever, legislation was passed, what have you, I think, hindsight being 2020, we can look back and see, okay, well, they did this, but in the last 20 years, this has been a consequence of that, right? I don't know that a lot of time you can anticipate fully what's going to happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
Sure.
Because it doesn't just involve the people making the decision. It involves so many other things that are arbitrary that you don't know how they're going to react or come together.
I'm going to relate it a little bit. We'll tie it back to Canadian politics and Canadian stuff. And I'll give you some historical Canadian stuff, some historical examples. And then I've got an example. I have to write this down before I forget it.
Okay. Please hold.
There you go. I've written it down. Okay. A more contemporary example that are theoretical anyway. So Trudeau and the War Measures Act, of course, in the October crisis with the FLQ, flexing federal power versus civil liberties. That was a contested.
I'm having deja vu.
Yeah, exactly. Chrétien and the Clarity Act, political containment versus national unity. Harper's GST cut, popularity versus fiscal sense. Justin Trudeau's cannabis legalization, youth branding versus real reform, Doug Ford and $10 a day childcare, Poilievre's Axe the Tax, political wedge versus climate solutions, Mulroney and free trade, ideological and legacy versus economic transformation. We had Carney remove the carbon tax, or actually Trudeau. I think it was Trudeau who removed the carbon tax right before
it was
Carney.
Yeah.
I was trying to credit Trudeau.
I know.
You keep knocking me down.
He's having a good life now. Leave him
He's
alone.
doing fine.
Yeah, he's doing
living like a firework right now. He kissed a girl and he liked it.
He did. She
what are other Katy Perry songs?
Right, I know. She's a California girl. Oh, God.
But then tying it to more contemporary things as well, just theoreticals, as I said. One of the things that currently in discussion is how Stellantis is removing their Jeep manufacturing from Canada, from Brampton specifically, their plant there, and moving it to the States as a result of Trump's tariffs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And trying to curry favor with the Trump administration. And from a business perspective, I get it. I totally get it. However, at the same time, we have China saying to Canada, hey, listen, we'll drop the tariffs on your canola if you drop the tariffs on our EVs.
Yeah.
So my reactive response to that, and this is a thought, and dear God, if Flavio Volpe is listening, I'm so sorry, Flavio. Don't hit me, please. Flavio could knock me out in one punch. He's a super nice guy, but I wouldn't want to be punched by him.
Okay.
But my immediate reaction to that is, well, maybe Carney has to remove the tariffs on the Chinese EVs in order to shock the system of the U.S. because either the U.S. is going to devour our auto industry anyway, or it was the threat of them of the auto industry collapsing a little bit, at least being even for temporary times, even for like 5 or 10 years, it's going to be enough to make the U.S. play nice.
Yeah.
That's obviously not ideal because the auto industry is very important to Canada, and we have lots of families who are reliant upon the auto industry. And we don't want to do harm to those people, but at the same time, you have to make these choices where it might be a good thing that you're trying to do, but you're going to end up with some bad consequences.
Wasn't that politics, right?
Well, yeah.
Right. I mean, we don't know all the stuff that's going on. We just see what's in front of us. And obviously I don't want any industry in Canada to, plummet. But the reason why we elect people is to make decisions and know things that we aren't privy to, and hopefully, fingers crossed, do the best they can for all Canadians. Now that's, rainbows and kittens and unicorns. But I think, certainly the whole EV thing, I mean, if we're pushing this, this 2030 agenda and EVs are a big part of that, and China has some pretty cool ones. Like I've seen.
I know. And this
right?
is
I hate it, but I like it, but I hate it.
The consumer in me is like, this is so cool. I think I can get like 8 shirts for $1 plus also buy a car for $12.
Right? I've seen like some of the things that they get for, it's like $35,000. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Right. But it's like things don't exist in a vacuum. And so like the trade with the US, although very important, and, we're dealing with a lot of, insecurity in terms of what's happening, but we also have to consider that we have other trade partners and there's other things that we need to look at. And are the tariffs on canola equally as important as the automobile industry in Canada, right? Different areas, but those are the things that have to be weighed when you're looking at doing certain deals, especially in a situation where like it's crunch time. Like it's not like, well, let's have discussions and let's try and figure things out. Like we have things impacting us in the immediate. But of course there's going to be fallout for that. There just is. There's no other way. And
I think, we'll steer back into the theme because that's not necessarily bad motives. It's just sort of good deeds with bad consequences.
Done dirt cheap. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, good deeds done dirt cheap. Exactly. No tariffs on that. But you and I were talking before we started recording where we were saying the situation perhaps in Alberta is a good example or potential example of that legacy building. And I think you could also say, and I dare to say this to you, I feel like the Canada Post Workers Union lead is a bit more concerned with legacy and less concerned about actually making things work. if that works out, does it matter? If that leader gets their legacy, does it matter? I'm saying it to everyone. I'm saying it to any example as well. I know that we've had here in our small town of Stratford in the past. I remember this is a number of years ago. There was a mayor who did a pretty good job. Did a pretty great job. But when you spoke to them, you realized all they cared about was being known as a really good mayor. It was entirely about them. But as a result of that ego, they would go above and beyond to be known. So does it matter?
Well, I mean, let's take it down even further.
Okay.
You think about Christmas or birthdays and you buy a present for somebody because, you want to make them happy and celebrate who they are. But it also makes you feel good when they open the present.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes you feel good to give, right?
Yeah.
Is that ego or is that just a consequence of an action?
Don't drop your mic. It'll disconnect.
I had him pause for a second.
You did. Well, I'll tell you, for the longest time, and I haven't haven't really thought about this stance in a long time, but for the longest time from my 20s right through, I have stated that I don't believe in altruism. I don't think there's any such thing as altruism. That idea that you're doing something purely at the service of others.
Sure.
It might have the intent, it might have the effect of being, essentially purely for the effect or benefit of others. But I think there's always a motivation. There's a personal motivation there. And when I was a angry young man, my example would always be, well, Mother Teresa was trying to do everything she could to curry favor to make sure she didn't lose her status, her pious status. What she did was good. I don't know if I necessarily buy the fact that she did it,
I'm backing away in case the lightning strikes. I don't want to get hit with anything. No, and I get it. And there's a lot of not so great things that happen with Mother Teresa. Yeah,
for sure. But that idea of I don't necessarily believe it was altruism. So we circle back to the Trump situation with the Middle East. A large part of me kind of doesn't care that that he's a terrible, terrible person who has done terrible, terrible things, but he did one good thing. And I think it's okay for us to be like, we'll take the good thing. I don't think that doesn't mean he's excused or absolved of any responsibility for the other stuff he's done. But that one good thing, if it was just for ego, does it matter that it was just for ego, just for Nobel Peace Prize? I don't think so.
So let me put it to you this way. If Diddy decided to invest,
you're always quoting Diddy.
I'm always quoting Diddy.
Bad boys for life.
More money, more problem. But if Diddy decided to, give millions of dollars to build a women's shelter for domestic violence.
Yeah.
Great thing, still real icky.
Yeah, for sure.
So is it the same thing? Because you cannot tell me that the Blob gives a royal fuck about Israelis or Palestinians or anything, right?
Yeah.
Now the hope is that the outcome of his influence or what have you, with bad man to bad man, hopefully brings about something good. I don't feel the need to celebrate him. I don't feel the need to celebrate the Blob and thank you. Oh, thank you. I want to celebrate, fingers crossed, a good outcome.
Yeah.
For the people that deserve a good outcome, right? But his face is attached to it, which is, again...
I mean, we can take solace in the fact that he didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize, which I thought was very, very funny.
Yeah.
And thanks to producer Owen, who's put in the chat here, it's Maria Corina Machado.
There you go.
And she won, and everyone was like, "Yay! Look, take that, Trump!" And then she was like, "I love Trump."
Yeah, right. Slap in the face.
Well, he still doesn't get the medal, though. He just doesn't get the.
Yeah, no, there was a little bit of smug satisfaction in that.
Totally
guaranteed. He thought he was waking up to a Nobel
You've done
Peace
the good
Prize.
thing by accident,
right? You did it for no credit at all. Yeah.
I see, actually, producer Owen has put another bit of information on top of the screen, but I don't know what it is yet. Oh, it's Henry Kissinger. Oh, yeah, that's a good example. I won't speak to it right now because I don't know the facts of it and I can't read it that small. But yeah, another good example.
Nope.
The Nobel Peace Prize. There you go. Look at that. This is great. I wish you guys could see this in listening on the radio. But he won the Nobel Peace Prize. And of course, Henry Kissinger was not the coolest guy ever.
Okay, but like historically, and it doesn't matter whether we're looking at politics or, like entertainers. Like, again, most people, a lot of people in the public eye, with the exception, turn out to be really bad people. Like, not great people.
But do you think that's tied to? Here's a big philosophical question for it. It's way too big for this show, but that's okay. Everyone just take another sip of coffee. Go get another coffee if you want. Just let this play. Do we think that is a hallmark of people who do good/great things, that they have this? Is it by necessity? Do you know what I'm saying? Like if you do something really great, if someone does something really great, is it almost guaranteed they've done something really bad as well? Is that the only way they can do that on the spectrum of good and bad in the spectrum? Is that they have to go one way and then they have to go the other way?
Well, I guess it depends on the spectrum of what is bad, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we've all ran a stop sign.
No, but I haven't.
Yeah, guarantee you have.
I obey the rules of the road.
I would like to say, though, didn't you accidentally do a rolling stop at Queensland and John?
That's different from ignoring a stop sign.
Thank you, producer Owen.
That's called not taking a stop sign that seriously.
So you rolled through it. That's what you're saying.
I did, and I was very tired, and I immediately got a ticket.
Oh, you did?
There was literally a police car waiting in the parking lot right there. And he was like, he came over to give me the ticket, and he looked in the window, and he went, shrugged his shoulders.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
You didn't even see the cop.
He wasn't hiding. He was like in plain sight. I was just so tired. I wasn't paying attention. I was like, oh, God damn it. Mm. Anyway, but yeah, we were saying about how you run stop signs and put people at peril.
Put the entire community in danger. I don't know. Like, I mean, is that a chicken or the egg? Is it that they go in a good person and then bad things happen because you have certain, liberties afforded to you that you kind of...
Yeah. Well, see, we'll go back to you bringing up your favorite artist ever, Diddy, and talk about how you won't stop singing Bad Boys for Life.
That's right.
Some other art examples, which art is a really good place to sort of talk about this as far as a conceptual framework from my head anyway, because it's always been about separating the art from the artist.
Okay.
What they do, their output, does it allow you to ignore and or put up with the not so good stuff or not really pleasant motives for doing it? Mm-hmm. My favorite one ever is Paul Gauguin, who
You're
did
so
those.
fancy.
He did those amazing paintings
Mm-hmm.
of Fiji. There's lots of beautiful women walking around topless in these little grass skirt type things. It's like, wow, that's great. Then you find out that he ditched his wife and kids to go to Fiji to make these paintings. Mm-hmm. Are the paintings good? Yes, they're pretty cool. They're pretty great. They're awesome. Is leaving your wife and children to poverty good? I don't think so. But paintings still good.
Yes.
Which is just one of those things. Caravaggio was a murdered a man. Wagner, which I love Wagner's example too. Of course, he was a composer, but he was also very anti-Semitic and he let his music be used by the Nazis. Yeah. Or rather, his music was taken in by the Nazis. Picasso, who I think Picasso is super cool, really, really amazing artist. Terrible to women. Yeah. Like really, really, really awful to women. And even Canadian examples like the Group of Seven, mm-hmm. which is a bit more sort of nation building and romanticized wilderness and kind of ignoring the whole indigenous population aspect of it. Are the paintings of the Group of Seven amazing? Yes, mm-hmm. they are. Mm-hmm. They're fantastic. They're something that Canadians can be proud of, but at the same time, they're kind of a whitewashed version of what it was to be Canadian at the time in the wilderness. So, and then again, back to your favorite artist, Diddy. Him and Biggie who did Every Breath You Take? I think it was, wasn't it?
Well, that was after Biggie died. Why do I know this?
I was just kidding. I was pretending that Diddy was your favorite artist.
I thought you were going to bring up R. Kelly, like, because you like to groove.
Well, I know, because oh man. Every time we start recording, you got Ignition playing.
People are going to think that's true. Stop it. Although it is a good tune. So, but that's an example. Like when when all this stuff happened with R. Kelly, right? I mean, and we all, I feel really, we all knew he was like married to Aaliyah and she was underage, right?
Yes, yeah.
But we ignored that because he had good tunes. And then when all the really gross stuff sort of came out, it's hard because it's like, I don't want to support this person in any way, shape, or form. They've done terrible things. They're an awful human being. But the art, but the person behind the art and the meaning behind the art, like, you know what I mean? It's difficult. It's difficult to separate the two.
And I know there's a difference between obviously Trump's ego and Nobel Peace Prize chasing, and
R. Kelly.
You know what with R. Kelly. Now, I'm only relating that to the Peace Prize. I think Trump and R. Kelly are probably more similar than
he and
Trump
Diddy
would wish us to realize.
Release the files. Sorry.
Oh, exactly. But it does still leave that question of, you know, if they do good things, are the good things, is the public to blame? Are we at fault to kind of ignore that kind of stuff? Is it okay? I guess the question rather is more specifically, is it okay to celebrate the good stuff even though it came from bad motives or a bad place, bad person?
Yeah. It's a hard thing. Yes, of course, because obviously if we take the latest example, fingers crossed, although I don't think it's going well even now. Yes, if there are people that are benefiting from something, that is the action that we need to look at, right? Is this good for, you know, a larger percentage of population than just the person doing the deed? But again, you have to kind of look at if he's going into it because he's like, okay, you know, I'm going to do this thing. I don't really give a shit, but I'm going to do these things and I'm going to get the Nobel Peace Prize and it's going to be great and I'm going to be on money and it's going to be fantastic. That's a shitty way to start something, right? And then the question is, are you putting everything into it if you're starting it from that place to make sure that it's actually going to be good? Or are you just looking for the headline?
Yeah, and I mean, motivation's a tricky one because, I mean, for myself, I know that I've had a few people tell me that they have put me forward for the Order of Canada.
Are you going to get a pin?
I would wear the hell out of that pin.
Yeah.
Me, Eugene Levy, Martin Short, just hanging out, showing each other our pins.
Yeah. Whipping out your pins at any opportunity.
Don't make it dirty.
I'm sorry.
But I mean, that is a motivation for me. And I think it's just a human thing. It's a motivation to do good things if you get lauded or recognized or, you know, by Nobel Peace Prize or just by having your face on money or whatever. It's a motivation to do good things. And when it comes to, I've also said before the past in my life that when it comes to charity, motivation doesn't matter. And I'm not sure it does. I think that you can separate the two things. You can take the good stuff and you can also condemn the bad things they do. I think also this time of history, this time in history where we have up to the second information, we have information sources, you know, to the infinity. It's this never-ending list of information that we can get about people and what they do and all their dirty laundry and all that kind of stuff and terrible things. And I think back to examples like Lord Byron, the poet. You know, we're always talking about Lord Byron. You and I are like, let's sit down and shoot some Byron to each other.
Byron, yeah.
But of course, Lord Byron, seemingly when you piece together the accounts, not a good guy.
No. Not
a very good guy at all. And if it's he was around in the time of social media, I don't think we'd be I think he would have been, 5 years ago,
canceled.
6 years canceled.
Yeah.
And now he would have been probably part of MAGA. But
Except they don't read, so it's fine.
well, exactly. But he'd read it to them.
You read it to them.
But yeah, just that idea of like, I think it's okay for us to condemn. So I think for the example of the Middle East peace agreement as it stands currently, and again, like as we keep saying, I hope it holds. God, I hope it holds.
Mm-hmm.
And if it does, that's a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. And if it was Trump's ego that pushed it through, well, that's I'm willing to be fine with that. Sure. Okay, whatever. That's great. Yeah. Whatever you need to say to yourself is fine. That's fine. However, you don't get off the hook for all of the other stuff.
No, it's not a get out of jail literally card. And I think part of it too is that I think people need to understand that it wasn't just one person. There was a lot of other countries and a lot of other things that actually contributed to it. Yeah, I mean, again, I have to look at the bigger picture, right? Does it produce good? Okay, good. That's fine. If the blob is going to be the face of peace in the Middle East, which is just never something I thought I would say, that part doesn't so much matter to me, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be used by the MAGA people and the alt wrong Canadians that think that he is the best thing since sliced bread. And that's the only worry is that going to make him more of a martyr, I guess, in their eyes. But I want better for more people, and if it has to be somebody like that, that's fine. The true test, I think, of like philanthropy or altruism or whatever it is that if you're doing all this stuff, and so in your instance, if you have done all the things that you've done and you happen to get your PIN,
mm-hmm.
if you stop doing all those things once you've gotten the accolade, then that to me shows you're an awful human being and I want nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
But, if you continue down the path of doing all the things that got you to, the accolade that you received, then I think that's the test of, you're doing it for the right reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times, historically, there are a lot of great things that have been done by really bad people. Do we even think about that now? We don't really think about it.
No, it goes by achievement.
Yeah.
That's essentially it, right?
Yeah.
So let's tie it back to Canada. And for example, Justin Trudeau, adored by many, not adored by as many as well. I feel, and having met him once, I thought this guy is unbelievably confident and full of ego and wants to be my best friend and make me feel like he's the best prime minister we've ever had. And
you're just jealous.
I'm a little jealous. I wouldn't want to be prime minister. Can you imagine? That'd be a terrible thing.
Oh God,
terrible.
No.
Canada would fall in the first weekend.
Like I'm drunk. We got to close. I'm drunk.
Got to close. Let's close down the country for a bit. Everyone gets a tax holiday till Friday. But I was okay with that because I was like, yeah, that's fine. That's okay. If your goal is to be the best at something and that will serve people, that will serve your job and bring good things, and that's okay. That's totally fine. And then going back to the Canada Post Workers Union leader, legacy building has been kind of the accusation there. Again, it's moral luck. If it turns out good, hey, you deserve the legacy and you got the stuff done. That's great. If it doesn't turn out good, it's not, you're a terrible person, basically.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but okay. But to be a leader, don't you have to have a little bit of ego?
Oh, I think so.
Because don't you have to be the person that like steps out of the crowd to be like, I'll do it, right? And then you do it. So I think all leaders in any capacity, whether it's like in industry and politics, whatever, have to have that self-confidence to say, I can do this. I'll be the one to do it.
Yeah.
Right? It's just because if that didn't happen, nobody would stand up.
Well, it's a bit like driving a car. I think you have to have the confidence to drive a car. If you're driving a bunch of people around, you're the driver. You have to confidence in your ability. That's like, yeah, I can do this. I can do this. Is there anything happening in Alberta that you could correlate to this, that you could connect to this idea of motives that are Because you had kind of briefly touched on that before we started.
Well, I mean, it's funny because I think about when we were going through some of the examples in Chrétien's Legacy Act. Nobody ever thought that would be used in Alberta, because that's now, part of the reason why these separatists are like, well, if Quebec had this, why can't we have this? I think if we're talking about legacy and ego, I think, Danielle Smith definitely has a lot of ego. I'm not sure the legacy that she's leaving behind is the legacy that she initially thought she would. Mm-hmm. So we've got, what is it? 40,000, 50,000 teachers on strike. We're in week 3. We've got obviously healthcare's the disaster. Like, there's so much stuff going on. And what does our premier decide to do? Well, we're going to introduce new license plates. Here's some fun at license plates, but you guys get to pick them. Like, that's right. Like, that's where your ego has now surpassed, that you are so unaware and out of touch with what's going on, that you decide that throwing out new designs for license plates with strong and free printed on them is a good idea. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's not great. It's not great.
I mean, it reminds me of Doug Ford doing his license plate stickers, where we used to have stickers on our license plates. Of course, every year you'd have to buy a new sticker, every 2 years. And that's how you kept your license up to date, for your car rather. And he was like, you know what? You don't have to do that anymore. Don't worry about it. It's fine. And I remember thinking at the time, and a number of people thinking at the time, what? Why? Yeah. We're used to paying it. That's billions of dollars a year that we can use for stuff.
Yeah.
And it was really just about that idea of being, he really wants to be the really well-liked leader.
Yeah. See, Danielle Smith doesn't. Like, I mean, she does.
You don't think that she wants to be a well-liked, she doesn't want to be like the best premier that Alberta's ever had?
Oh, I think she thinks she's the best premier that Alberta's ever had. Oh my God, yes. Right. And that's the lack of self-awareness. But, and maybe she is clearly to a percentage of Albertans, but that's the ego, right? It's like, if the ego that you have in trying to do something or, run something or whatever brings you to being so out of touch, then it doesn't matter what you do, because you're never doing it for the right reason, because you don't know what the right reason is, right? You're just doing it based on your ego. So like her and I'm going to say her because she leads basically the bargaining team for the teachers. She's so out of touch that, she really, I think, doesn't understand, well, what's the big deal? Why are teachers so upset? We're offering them some stuff, because she doesn't understand what the day of a teacher looks like. Right. And so, and I think, standing firm against teachers and that is, she's very concerned with legacy. But I'm hoping that her legacy will be that she was the worst premier Alberta has ever seen. And she goes away into the sunset.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know where that line gets crossed or is made aware of. You're made aware of that line of your ego might be your motivation, which is a good thing, as we were saying. You need the confidence and ego to do things, to lead, to push things through. But then when things start to go wrong, if your ego still stays engaged in one direction, in the wrong direction, then that's no good. I mean, and it all comes down again to moral luck. It's like if Gauguin he left his wife and kids and went to Fiji to become a painter, and his paintings were shit.
Yeah,
he'd just be a jerk.
It's all for nothing, right? Yeah,
he'd just be an idiot.
Cheater. Yeah,
exactly. He'd just be that guy who left his wife and kids to starve. So I know you've got to get back to a full day of R. Kelly and Diddy listening, so I'll just finish off here. Motives are messy, Lisa. People are messy. History is basically a collection of moments where ego, ambition, pettiness, genius, and occasionally genuine goodness collided to shape the world. Sometimes the result is peace. Sometimes it's the national park. Sometimes it's a famous painting of someone who definitely didn't give consent. So the question isn't whether motives matter. They do. The question is whether we're honest about how much we let good results smooth over bad intentions. Because if we're not careful, the next narcissist with a dream of greatness, I wonder if we know any, might not stop at a peace accord. They might try for something bigger. And history loves to hand out A+ grades, even when the group project was built on a dare. I want to thank everyone for listening and watching. Politics is Broken. You can find us at brittlestar.com or your favorite podcasting platform. It's nice to be back. I wasn't really. I said there was a drinking emergency last week. But I wasn't really. I mean, I think my entire trip was so busy to the UK, I didn't have time to get drunk.
You were very busy, and time differences and zones and stuff.
It's too much.
And it was a long weekend. We deserve.
And you were like 7 hours behind me at that point.
No,
just like in life.
I think you were 7 hours ahead of me, and that's fine.
Just like in life.
I hope you.
Thanks, everyone.
Choke
Take
on
care
your
of
pin.
yourself.
Bye, everybody.
Take care. See ya.
You've been listening to Politics is Broken with Brittlestar and Lisa B. The audio version of this podcast is produced by Owen Reynolds for the Podcast is Broken Network. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, and comment. And don't forget to check out Brittlestar.com for more.